Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Miyat Shah, and uh, the scene is neither bullish nor bearish. You would have to say that from an Indian market watcher's perspective. First, the global news flow. Tech stocks got knocked down amidst hawkish Fed speak, so that was a key thing in trade yesterday. Oil rose for the third consecutive day on China outlook, supply worries after Turkey earthquake. Though now, after the 3-day move in today's session, it's kind of steady at those higher levels, so bear that in mind. India considers extending ban on wheat exports as per Reuters, and this could be important as well from an FMCG company perspective, India food security perspective. So do watch out for that. And aluminum records its worst losing streak since April 2020, and this is important considering the fact that there are two key things. One, of course, Hindalco results today. Two, also that if indeed US were to slap that ban on Russian aluminum imports, then that could, or 200% duty, whatever is the case may be, and that could mean that there could be some bit of a pullback into this commodity which has gotten beaten down. So be mindful of that. However, the markets, so US markets will first come up on your screen, and tech got a bit of a pullback yesterday. I doubt that the key indicators have changed dramatically. Maybe the yields are a little bit here and there. And remember, yields are already spiked, like we said, post the jobs data. So, I mean, 3.61 is just about there. Volatility maybe inched up a little bit, but the dollar index was flat as well. So no great shakes. The SGX indicates a flattish start. I'm not even going to show that, but it's a flat start really. So what's the trade setup therefore for the day looking like? Let's move on to that. Well, the Nifty's closed just below its 20-day average of 17,882. You could argue that that's a near-term technical resistance, if you will, and we'll probably reverse a little bit from there. So that becomes a bit of a resistance in technical parlance. But let's wait and watch. If indeed there is some buying seen in specific pockets, then we might see that breach very, very easily, as we saw in the case yesterday from the lows, the kind of buying that came in. I know I mentioned this yesterday that the Morgan Stanley note, right, about this whole pivot towards NBFCs as opposed to banks. Um, because the narrative is peak rates. Now, yesterday the RBI said that yesterday's hike, or they've left, to my mind, the door open for a further rate hike, and therefore that strong pivot towards NBFC bullishness, to my mind, gets pushed back to the month of April, because that's when very likely we might see peak rates. Though a lot of things are moving, so we don't quite know, but it's likely that that might happen. Um, and yesterday's session, we saw classic template of value buying in beaten down names, right? Metals, pharmaceuticals, consumer tech. These are the ones which have gotten beaten all of 2022, very likely in the first month of 2023. And some of these saw some real frenzied buying in trade yesterday, especially consumer tech. With Paytm doing what it is doing and Zomato coming out with numbers today. When I look at that kind of gains in Paytm 16%, Zomato 9%, Nykaa about 6%. So you saw some really strong moves there in those stocks, and that dominated trade yesterday. I don't know if the tech pullback really brings back the internet-based stocks or the IT services stocks in the session today, but very likely that such moves don't just last for a day. They see some continuity or some consolidation. So sure, we could see a bit of a consolidation today. But who knows, if Zomato springs a surprise in the results the way Paytm did, then could be really interesting. Flows stayed skittish. FI still sold 736, not as large a number as they did a few days back, but still on the sell side, on the negative side. So that is to be kept in mind. And DI has bought about 941 crores. One of the stocks, by the way, just while I haven't given that data, is what I'm trying to say. There are a bunch of very important results that will come out today. So we will be watching out for all of those. There is Hindalco, so keep that in mind. So that is something to be watched out for. I think Adani Total Gas, or with the Pharma, Devyani, Fine Organics, there's a Lupin, a touch of very important numbers that will come out with today. HAL would be important, HPCL would be important. So I think I'll be watching out for a bunch of those. And also watching out for Zomato as well as Voltas. So there are some very interesting numbers They'll come out today, and we'll be tracking some of those, of course. The stocks to watch as a result of as a consequence of the results that have come out or otherwise. So I'll start off with overall realty, which I thought stood out per se. The numbers look very solid. Revenues nearly doubled for quarter three at 1629 versus 832 crores. PAT 702 crores versus 467 crores. And I think one of the reasons why the PAT didn't show as strong a growth as the revenue numbers was that the finance cost has gone up for quarter three as well as for 9 months. For 9 months, the finance cost has nearly doubled from 54 crores to 107 crores. So the interest ate into some of the profitability, but you have to argue that the numbers are well ahead of estimates, and therefore we might see a bit of a spike in the session today. It's become a bit tricky to kind of report on real estate numbers because there's also this pre-sales, bookings, etc. But on the face of it, I think overall it looks good and therefore could do well. Cummins look rock solid, by the way. Revenues up 25%, EBITDA up 51%. EBITDA margins have expanded 18.91 versus 15.63. Quite a stunning performance in quarter three for Cummins. And net profit up 65% at 413 crores. Actually, to my mind, the stock of the day, really. But just saying that it had a very good quarter and very likely that the stock could do well. So let's wait and watch how it works out in the session today. But good going, really, for Cummins. So that is something that I will most certainly watching out for. Um, the yeah, the other set of numbers, by the way, I haven't given them, but the other set of numbers which did well are SKF India. Very good set of numbers, really. Margins of a year-on-year basis recovering in a difficult time and outperforming its peers on a YY basis, despite, I mean, some of the other peers had very suppressed margins. Timken, for example, you would remember I'd spoken about it. But look at SKF, by the way. Uh, Revenues were flattish, yes, but gross profit margin also maintained an EBITDA margin YOY at 17.1 versus 12.7%. So not bad, really. QOQ numbers look weak, but YOY look very, very strong. It's not a cheap stock, so bear that in mind. But I thought the numbers look very good. So both Cummins and SKF doing very well. Just shows automation, manufacturing, right in the thick of things. For Cummins, record quarterly revenue is quite something, right? So that's something to be watched out for. Uno Minda was another set of names, another set of numbers which look very, very good. Look at that set of numbers really and find a fault there if you can. Revenues up 33%, EBITDA up 43.8%, EBITDA margin at 11.61 versus 10.79. There's a net profit of 41 crores versus a loss of 1.58 crores. Just shows you how strong the performance was. And um, I was looking at brokerage notes for Uno Minda. So Nomura, for example, says that the EV order wins, premiumization and client addition provide high growth visibility. The 3Q was ahead with strong traction across segments. They are saying that Uno Minda is investing significantly across switch, light, alloy wheel, and EV products, and given confirmed orders, it should continue to outperform industry volume growth. Stronger than expected EV adoption can lead to further upside to their estimates, and their estimates do not factor in um, the Bueller Motors JV and ramp up in ADAS segment as yet. Their target is 730, which is a 44% upside uh, to to the current market price. So do watch out for Window could have a good run. Escorts revenues up 16%, tractor volume grew by 11%, but EBITDA was down 28%. EBITDA margins came in at 8.4 versus estimates of 10.6%. So a weak set of numbers for Escorts very likely could react negatively. JB Pharma, the numbers were good, but remember they were largely in line with estimates. That's the point I'm trying to make. Revenues were up 37%. Bloomberg estimate was 765, they came in at 729, so just around there. Margins at 23.3. Bloomberg estimates were 23.2. A bit of a beat on the margin, maybe, and which is why the net profit kind of almost in line with estimates. Bloomberg estimate was 103. They came in at 101. So no changes there. The numbers looked okay, and you should be mindful of that they've delivered not a bad quarter, just that the quarter is exactly in line with what was estimated. Trent, again, while I haven't given the numbers, the highest quarterly revenue, Westside registered an NFL growth of 17% versus Q3 FY22, which is actually pretty strong. And for them, the PAT was at 167 crores versus 93 crores QOQ, 140 crores YOY. So 80% growth QOQ 20% growth YOY. It's a really expensive stock, but it's done well, and therefore you should be mindful of that. Amongst others, L&T bagged non-results, that is, L&T bagged a 2585 crore order from Ministry of Defense, so that's to be watched for. Watch out for Global Health. It listed on 16 November. The lock-in ended on Wednesday, wherein 5% of equity is to be unlocked, and the stock has increased quite a bit. I don't know if there is a profit booking that comes in. If it does, then be mindful of the fact that it will be because of the lock-in ending. So watch out for that. Watch out for some of the price volume buzzers, which also includes a Paytm, of course, but Wonderla on results, big volume buzzer, and good price action. Thermax, good price action, volume buzzer. So pretty interesting for that one as well. Watch out. The reason why I, of course, mentioned that the NBFC bullishness might get pushed back is because everybody who's spoken to us says that maybe there's one more rate hike. So Tanvi Gupta of UBS didn't quite say that, but Goldman Sachs, for example, the statement on policy says that they continue to expect the Reserve Bank of India to hike 25 basis points further in the April meeting on sticky core inflation and a reversal in vegetable prices. So let's wait and watch if that were to happen. There is, I don't know if there's a note out there, but there is certainly a message floating around that MSCI in its review might take a call that certain shareholding in the Adani Group stocks will not be considered as free float. Now, that means that there could be a weightage cut or stocks might be removed as well. So who knows if that comes out or no. But my point being, if it, so okay, here's the deal, right, viewers? If it does come out, if something like this were to happen, which is, so okay, the message is this, that certain investors holding will not be considered as free float. Free float will be reviewed and implemented, and announcement of the same will come with the February index review, which is today as per MS, which is today. Now, if that were to happen, then that would be negative for Adani Group stock. So if you're trading on, I've maintained all through the last 15 days that it's very volatile and very choppy, so be careful. Now, if this were to happen, then it could be negative for Adani Group stocks. I do not know if that will happen or not. To the best of my information, such things don't happen in a jiffy because MSCI is not subjective per se. But if this were to happen, then it'll be negative. So be mindful of that. Trade carefully in the Adani Group stocks is the limited point I'm making. Standard disclaimer: Adani Group is in the process of acquiring 49% stake in BQ, in Bloomberg, in Quintil Business Media, which is the owner of BQ Prime, which is the platform that you're watching. So that's the long and short of trade today. I hope you have a wonderful trading day. We'll be talking to Harsha Upadhyay of Kotak at 10 a.m. So it'll be an interesting conversation to tune in, of course, to take stock of what one of the largest mutual funds are talking on the equity side, are talking about or thinking about their equity investments. So do tune in for that, and a bunch of result conversations as well to be monitored today. Thank you so much for tuning into Trade Setup. Have a profitable day ahead. By the way, if you want to just start off a bit early and ahead of Trade Setup as well, we now publish the PQ podcast at about 7:30 a.m. It's there on our Twitter timelines and multiple other social media handles. You might want to tune in for that as well.